Good evening and welcome to Suffolk Spring Week's event, Monday Night Spotlight, with New England Patriots captain, Devin McCourty. Please welcome tonight's host, Suffolk graduate of the class of 2018 and weekend sports anchor for Channel 9 News in Denver, Colorado, Jacob Tobey.
All right. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Hello and welcome, everybody. We're just so thrilled to be here. I'm pumped up to host tonight. During this 1 hour program, we will hear from one of the most popular and one of the most well-respected Boston sports figures, maybe ever, definitely today in today's history, Devin McCourty. I'm going to ask him some questions, and then we'll do a little Q&A as well. So pretty pumped up for both of those things. If you have a question for Devin, write it in the chat. I'll do my best to get to all of them in the time that we have today. It is now my pleasure to introduce a man that really needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. New England Patriots captain, Devin McCourty. Devin played college football at Rutgers and was drafted by the Pats in the first round in 2010. In his rookie year, he recorded 60 tackles and 7 interceptions, earning his first Pro Bowl selection. That was as a cornerback, and then he switched to safety. And Devin's been a cornerstone of the Patriots secondary for more than a decade. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings on his fingers. Devin's twin brother, Jason, has played for the Patriots. They've played together. They team up to help out the community and give back to those less fortunate than themselves. So, Devin, what's going on, my man? Thanks for being here, and thanks for being with the Suffolk community. We are so pumped to have you, my man.
Yeah, I'm honored. Second time I've gotten the opportunity to be in the Suffolk community, and it's always been talking about really inspiring things. So very happy to be here tonight.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. We appreciate it. Let's dive right into it. Congrats on 11 seasons with the Patriots. Does it feel like just yesterday that you were drafted and that you had your first season, or does it feel like a lifetime ago to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a reminder around this time because the draft's coming up and you think back to your time and, that night waiting and hoping you get drafted in the first round. And it goes by fast. I actually just had a conversation with a guy named Cliff Marshall who trained me coming out of college. And he sent me a post, from his Facebook 11 years ago this day. And I was like, man, it feels like that just happened. But when you see that 11 years ago, it's a reminder how old you are and that you are, getting older. But, I still enjoy playing the game so much and being out there competing with the guys.
People always talk about how hard it is to win in any professional sport, right? And you playing one of the hardest ones, and you've got 3 Super Bowl rings. Are you wearing them? Are you? What's going on with those? Do you wear them a lot? Like, tell me about them and tell me how it is to be a 3-time champion.
So I wear them to every fundraiser where we're trying to raise money. So anytime that we're in person and people know I'm very loose with the rings. I let you wear them. I let you try them on.
Okay.
I don't put it out too much when alcohol is involved. Then I don't want any fumbles,
Right.
But I think the ring is a symbol. But I think the greatest thing about being a champion is the journey. I can think back to each team of how special it is or how special it was when it comes down to the players, special moments. And I think that's what winning the championship means. It means in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years, there'll be reunions. You'll get back together. You'll laugh. You'll joke. And I think that's why it's so important of finishing the season and winning because we've had great teams. Like my rookie year that you spoke of, I felt was one of the best teams I played on. But when you don't win a championship, that team is just a team. It's not remembered. And that's something I remember Brady said. I think it was in 14 when we went to the Super Bowl. When you win, that team's honored forever. And it's true. So each one of those teams I got an opportunity to win a championship with was a very special group of guys.
People watching right now said, oh my God, he mentioned Tom Brady. Oh my God. We'll talk about Tom. Don't worry. We'll get to that a little bit later. I think one of the biggest and the coolest things to see when the Patriots win a Super Bowl is those legendary parties that Robert Kraft hosts you guys at. I mean, how fun are those for you where you guys just celebrate a championship and be with your teammates and all that? Because we see the video of it, but you're actually there. So how cool are those parties for you?
Man, I had no idea what I was even walking into the first time, and it was cool. My now wife is actually a doctor, so she was in med school and couldn't come And it was so cool because I got to bring my mom, and my mom came, and you walk in, and it's like, all right, it's at Kraft's house, cool. Like, I'm sure he has a nice house. He's a Patriots owner. And you walk in, and the side yard is set up with a bar outside, all of the trophies on the lawn. You can take a picture, then you turn the corner, it's this huge tent, and you walk inside, and it's chandeliers, it's carpet. It's just the best thing you've ever seen. I think as soon as you walk in, you're like, all right, I'm in for the time of my life. And each time I've been there, it's been just one of the best parties. It's like going to one of your best friend's weddings. It's awesome. And then you get to that moment where everybody's sitting down, and they put that box in front of you, and the confetti falls one more time, and you open your rings for the first time. It's incredible. And I tell people all the time, like, winning the Super Bowl that night is awesome. The parade and hanging out with the guys after the parade, but the ring ceremony is the party of all parties that you want to be there. And I don't care if you leave the team, end up on another team the next year, but that is the ultimate celebration. It kind of closes everything up for that year. So those are always great moments. I want to win a Super Bowl just to have another ring ceremony.
They are legendary. Definitely, the video seems cool, so it's definitely interesting to see that. So obviously, you have a lot of talent on the field, right? But a big part of your game is being a leader on and off the field. And as you reflect on your childhood and your college years, and now you've played 11 years in the NFL, and you think about your mentors, whether it's your mother, or high school or college teachers, coaches, Belichick, or anybody now that you're being coached by, what leadership lessons have you learned from them? Because there's got to be just a ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, it started right at home for me. The ultimate mentor for me is my mom. Was my mom, is my mom, will always be my mom. She's the person that I've always, sought out for advice, especially when I became a father and a husband. But I think the biggest thing she taught me was sacrifice. And for, obviously me and my older brother, my twin brother, Jason, we've always gotten, I think, the best part of life. And it was strictly because of the sacrifices she made, whether it was sending us to private school to give us an opportunity to play, sports at a high level and get a great education, which ultimately made her bankrupt. And, we told her, like, we'll get a scholarship. And then even, today, of anything I ask of her, always being there, watching her grandkids as often as we ask. And then as I think I grew and been on different teams or been in different situations, I had a couple of teachers through elementary and middle school. Miss Roberts and Mr. Bennett were two people, was a Black woman and a Black man who, for me at that age, really inspired me and let me know that I can really be anything I want to be. They would often speak directly to me, challenging me, encouraging me. That for me, I thought that was huge in those early stages of life. And then I think, in college, the shirt I have on, Paul Roberson, was a guy, I didn't know who he was. I got to school and they was like, yeah, this guy is a three-time, he's a three-sport All-American. I was like, dang, three-sport All-American. And they started talking about, yeah, he was an actor, he was a singer, he was an activist. I was like, wow. And, I think about like my life now, like he was everything that I wanted to be and I try to continue to be. And then I think now in my life, very fortunate to be in New England. I think with the Kraft family, the platform they give you as soon as you get on the team, the charitable foundation gives you so many opportunities to give back and be in the community. And then very fortunate to just meet different people, whether it's Robin Glazer, inside the Patriots, she's a lawyer for the Kraft Group, Rasan Hall, who works for the ACLU, Jeff Lopes and George Diaz, two Boston police officers. Those are different people that at any given time I'll reach out to and talk to and ask for advice and different things that are going on in the community. So very fortunate to have just different people, I think, that have been a big part of my life and have really, I think, spoken great things into me.
It's one thing for, I think, pro athletes to, play in a city if you're not from there and just be there and, the fans love you and stuff like that. But it's another thing, I think, to do charitable work in that community. And you and Jason have done your great deal and great share of work here. And Jason's done it, in other places he's played at. So when do you think you decided you wanted to make this type of difference and give back? And why do you think it's so important for you and your brother to do that?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned with the Kraft family giving me the opportunity. I remember coming in as a rookie, and they took us over to the Patriots Hall of Fame. And Myra Kraft, Mr. Kraft's wife, spoke to us, and she talked about a big reason of why she supported him buying the team was because she saw the bigger picture of what the team could be and what the team could do in the community. I think for me in the New England and Boston area, that's where it started. It was doing a playground build in Providence and getting to meet the different people there, then ultimately doing a turkey giveaway in Providence, then, being at different events in Boston and different areas around the New England area. I just felt like, man, like this area, has given me so much. You graduate and you just move straight to a new city, and it's just like, go ahead, be you, like, find out who you are as an adult. And I think for me, so much of my growth as an adult happened right there. Good times, bad times. I felt like I really became a part of the community, and I just want to give the community what it's given me. An awesome platform, an opportunity to be a champion, to be a father, a captain. I've gotten so much from my time, being a New England Patriot. I think it's only right that I give back to the people in the community. And the times that I've done it, I always have such a great time. It's great, hardworking people in this area. Reminds me a lot of the people I grew up around and the people who have encouraged me. So I really enjoy it. I enjoy being in the community, lending a helping hand, and then people also helping me out throughout my life.
Yeah, you're from New Jersey, but do you feel like you're part of New England? You're home when you're playing here. Like, what does this place mean to you? Whether it's when you're playing or when they're in the community doing stuff for other people.
Yeah, it's a special place. I see it as I have two homes. I think you grow up in one area. I grew up, I'm from Nye, New York, and then, then played high school and then college football in New Jersey. So that was 8 years of my life of, being there. And now, like you said earlier, like I've been in New England for 11 years. And I think anytime you spend that much time, and I think especially in my profession, where you don't often see the opportunity to be on one team for so long. And I think in New England, obviously it's a little different. You had a guy that was on the team for 20 years. So you don't kind of see it as this unthinkable thing. But I think of, whether it was Tom, Grant, myself, Jules, Chung, Slater, Hightower, like that core group of guys, we've been there for so long. It's been awesome to just grow with those guys and grow with the community. It's impossible not to say, New England is definitely a home for me. I look at it as I have a couple different homes, and I love each one of them the same.
Now, there are New Jersey, New York accents, and then there is a New England accent. Which one do you think is worse?
So I will say, when I first got to this area and someone said over there the car, I was like, what? Or wicked smart. I was like, no way, this is. And I remember the times of being out in the community and hearing someone say those things, and I just laughed. So I think because I grew up in this area, that's normal. So when I got to Boston, I was like, man, this is weird. Like this is not normal. But now it's so normal. I cracked jokes on my brother when he got here, and he would hear people saying different things with the accent. I was like, yeah, man, that's nothing. Stop making a big deal out of it. So I'm used to it now.
There you go. Real quick, I wanted to take a minute to call out a few Suffolk alumni who are making an impact right here at Suffolk. Thank you to the Smith brothers. We all know them, Larry and Michael Smith, for all that they do to support Suffolk and the athletics program. And because of their generosity, the athletics program has grown and facilities have significantly improved. In fact, a friend of mine had told me recently that they saw the Suffolk branded bus that the athletes use to travel to games, which is pretty cool. And thank you to Lenny Samia and the Samia family, whose philanthropy, have given hundreds of Massachusetts residents with financial need the opportunity to attend and learn at Suffolk. The Smith brothers and Mr. Samia came from humble beginnings and started giving small amounts to Suffolk because they were so thankful for the education they received here. And when they became successful business leaders, they remembered their roots and made transformational gifts to Suffolk and continue to support our current and future students. So we thank them and all those who support Suffolk at all levels. It makes a huge difference. And it's just, Devin, it's so cool to see people get back to where they started, right? You know, you wouldn't be who you are without where you were in the past, whether it's your education or how you grew up. So I think that's, you know, pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, first I just want to say that's awesome. You know, I think very thankful for people like that, because I think people don't understand how that inspires other people who are going to come through programs, and it's all about paying it forward. And to just hear their stories come from humble beginnings. You go to a school, and I think for a lot of us, you feel like, man, that time there changed my life. Like, it gave me opportunities that I didn't really think I would have. So to see their work and continue to be a part of Suffolk, I just think that's awesome. You know, there's going to be so many kids who graduate who don't know who they are maybe, or you know, what they've done. But there'll be a big reason, you know, why kids have graduated. And I just think that's awesome to pay it for. So, you know, very thankful for them.
Awesome. Let's talk football. You know, you're a football player. Let's do it.
Why not?
So you know, you're playing on a pro football team with your twin brother. That has to be a dream come true. First of all, was that something that when you guys were younger, you talked about and wanted to accomplish? And second of all, just how has it been, whether, you know, good times, bad times, like just kind of talk about all those.
You know, I think it's a very unique situation, because for both of us, we coming up through the ranks, that we weren't the guys that were like, man, they're like, yeah, someday those guys are going to be pros. Like, we enter high school, we were like 5'7", 115 pounds, 120 pounds. So it wasn't like we had conversations of like, yeah, when we get there, we want to be on the same team. We were just like, man, it'd be awesome to get an opportunity to play in the NFL. I mean, we didn't even think we'd be able to go to college to the same school. So, you know, there was no way in our minds that we dreamed of being on the same team. But I would say when we became like juniors in college, we were like, man, you know, maybe this is a reality that we could actually play in the NFL. And it happened one time once we were in the NFL in 2015, there were a ton of rumors like, hey, we're hearing the Patriots might trade for Jason McCourty. And I remember just like, okay, like this could happen. This would be awesome. But then that didn't happen. And, you know, then he became a free agent in 2017. And I was like, well, here we go. You know, Tennessee has released him, coming to New England. And we just had so many guys at the corner position. It never became a thing. So I was like, well, you know, that's it. You know, that was, I think, year 8, I think, for me. And I was like, it probably won't happen if it's not happening now. And
running out of time.
Yeah, exactly. And I still remember Jay did a year in Cleveland, and I'm the older twin. And I told him when he signed, no disrespect to Cleveland now, because they're actually a really good football team. But in 2017, I was like, don't sign in Cleveland. I don't care. Because I don't care how long you have to wait. And I know you want to move your family and get settled in. I was like, don't do it. And he signed anyway. So at the end of the season, I was like, you got a 2-year contract. You need to get out. I was like, don't go back. And I was so happy he called me and he was like, yeah, just talk to the GM. They're going to release me. And I remember literally being on the phone with him and texting Brian Flores, who was my safety coach at the time. And I was like, hey, J-Mac just called me. He's about to get released. What you think I should do? Should I hit Bill up? He was like, yeah. So I text Bill and I was like, hey, just to let you know, Jason's getting released. I think 2 McCourtys would be better than 1. And he never responded. I was like, well, I guess not. And then in true Bill fashion, not a big technology guy, he called me about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour later, and was like, yeah, we're just going to trade for him. And I was like, really? And I actually broke the news to Jay. I FaceTimed and was like, welcome to the Patriots. And he had no idea what I was talking about. And then we FaceTimed my mom. So it was, I mean, when we were probably like 10, 11 years old playing Pop Warner, we would be in the parking lot, in the street, going over our plays, throwing the ball at each other to get ready for the games. And then like, we're playing on the same team, like driving in on game day together, carpooling, in the meeting rooms together at practice. It was just, at certain times, I think we did sit back and just kind of enjoy it. And Jay's wife said it when he came there in March. She was like, no matter what happens this year, you just need to enjoy every moment. And I think that's why, you know, obviously all 3 years were special, but 2018 was really special because we thought that it would only be for 1 year. We just was like, there's no way this happens next year. And we really just enjoyed every moment that we had together. And then obviously ultimately being on the field and the confetti falling and me just seeing him take a knee and, for 10 years in the NFL, it took him 10 years just to make it to the playoffs and then to win the Super Bowl. I just felt like I was just watching him, just a unique experience. And I think anybody with not even a twin, just any close sibling, to live out a lifelong dream together, whatever you think that would be, that's what it was times 100. It's just an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah. You said something that's funny. I was going to ask you actually, and then you said it. You had texted Bill Belichick, hey, go get him. How often does that happen with other players in the league? If whether it's a guy that you really admire or who has a lot of skill, do you text Belichick a lot or your other coaches and kind of nudge them to say, hey, this is maybe someone we should get, or does that not happen as frequently as you think?
So for me, it happened one time.
And Bill didn't answer your text. So
yeah, exactly. But I always tell people, we all have friends throughout the league or guys that, we played against probably even in college or throughout our professional career. But I tell guys, like, we have a whole scouting department and Bill is going to trust that, more than us. And it's not to say that he doesn't respect our opinion. But, a lot of people in the building get paid to go out there and scout guys and figure out who fits. But I think over time, especially guys that have been there for a while, they have no problem like reaching out saying, hey, I think this guy would fit in, or, hey, I train with this guy. He's a great guy, works hard. That actually happens a lot. And a lot of times it's, one of the coaches reaching out to a player if they know there's some familiarity there of like, hey, do you know this guy? What do you think? That happens quite often, I think throughout all locker rooms of just trying to get a sense for different guys if there's an opportunity for them to be on the team.
All right, I'll let you pick. Do you want to talk Brady or do you want to talk Chung and Edelman first?
Well, we gotta leave Brady for last. We can't
Ooh,
dare put.
That's a teaser right there, people.
Yeah,
we
gotta do that.
Okay.
We go Chung, then we go Jules, then Tom, just because Tom and Jules are like, they have their big bromance. So.
Yeah, definitely have a bromance. All right, let's start with Chung then. What's your relationship with him, and what was it like playing with him, and then to see him retire as a Patriot, where it all began?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was tough seeing him retire because I was excited for him to come back. He's a guy that obviously for my whole Patriot career, you take out the 1 year he went to Philly, but we basically came in and like assumed leadership roles very early in our careers. He was drafted in 2009, me in 2010, and we played a 2010 season. I think with one of the guys that was an awesome leader for me, James Sanders, who was a veteran guy, not a big known guy, not a big name guy, but worked his butt off, did everything the right way. And I think he taught me and Chung a lot, but the next year he was gone. And then Lee Bottom was gone, Brandon Merrick. So the next thing you know, I think me and Chung kind of looked at each other like, are we supposed to be the leaders now? Like, we're still trying to figure this whole NFL thing out. So just to see, him retire, and I think it's kind of like a piece of you is kind of retiring because we played together for so long. We talk about it so much. Like, we're on the field and we could be guarding the two tight ends that are on the field and we don't say anything, but they do something, they cross, and we just switch guys in the middle of the play. Yep. And after, we'll look at each other and we'll just start laughing because of all of the years we played together. We just knew how each other played. So just to see him retire, and especially after not playing with him last year and being excited for him to come back, was like a little bit of a gut punch. But on the other end, I'm so happy for him. He just had a baby girl. He has an older son, Tosh, who looks just like him, acts like him. So getting to just see him in that element, doing some of his other things that he's passionate about, I think that is just a great feeling. As you get older in this league, going on my 12th year, you already know, I know guys have other passions and things that they want to do in life. So to see him walk away from the game on his own terms and do those things, I'm happy for him. It's special, but I'm definitely going to miss him.
All right, on Jules, one, your take on the video he posted with him in the director's chair. Was it cool? Did you not think it was cool? And then for real, just what does he mean to you and your relationship with him? And what was it like to see him go? Because he barely played last year, right? 2 games. So
Yeah, and he's another guy like Chung, '09, and we were all kind of grouped in together of, trying to fill the shoes of the guys before us. And true Jules fashion, he comes out there in a tailored down to the T suit, sitting in a director chair, and you're like, for one, I didn't know he was retiring. I thought there was a chance, but you were like, I mean, here this guy goes, has his retirement all set up, 3-minute video ready to go. It's going on inside the NFL. He's got a job here. I'm like, this guy always so well prepared and ready to go. And he's another guy that I think, for us older guys, especially me and Matthew Slater, who are still in the locker room, who now fill the shoes of the two oldest guys, not a great accomplishment, but an accomplishment, to be old and still playing. He just meant so much, I think, to everyone, especially for me, because he was a year older. And I always thought of us as like those guys that had to truly like make this team go and be leaders. And he was a guy who never got enough credit for his leadership. And he wasn't a rah-rah guy. And he wasn't the guy who, at all times you'd be like, yeah, do what Jules did. He was the guy that when Sunday came and you needed a guy to go in there and hit a guy, you needed a guy to run through a guy, like that was going to be him. If you needed someone to step up and play defense, that was going to be him. Punt return, that was going to be like, he was just that guy. And I think for me, he gave me confidence when I went out there, because I knew competing against him every day made me better. And I knew like when I got out there wasn't going to be a tougher competitor out there than Jules, and seeing him in practice. And I'm telling you, I hated Jules in practice, like hated him. But I was the first guy jumping off the bench for him on Sunday, because that's what he was. And he was 7th round draft pick who just grinded, got better every year, and made a name for himself and really became a true champion. So he's a guy I think we're going to miss a lot, just energy-wise, the toughness. We, in a span of, kind of 1.5, 2 years, we've lost a lot of guys that I think have meant more to the team than just what you see on the field. Obviously, you throw Tom in there and Gronk, like that's four great players. But really just what they meant overall in the building and to the team is the toughest thing to replace.
Okay, let's talk about Tom. Who called you first to let you know he wasn't coming back? Or did he do it himself?
No, I think people were tweeting me. They were like, Tom didn't let his teammates know that he was leaving. I was like, no one lets anybody know they're leaving in free agency. They don't know that they're leaving. And like, that's the part of free agency. It's one of the most nerve-wracking times for any player, because the truth is every player wants to stay on his team as long as like you come in, you have success. You want that to be the path. Like everybody wants the Kobe Bryant situation, 20 years and retire. Like that is the ultimate, player kind of goal, unless you get somewhere and you hate it. Like that's a different story. But no, I found out on like Twitter or, whatever it was, like everybody else. But you kind of knew it was a chance, For one, the guy played 20 years in the NFL and never became a free agent. All we talk about from a player standpoint is becoming a free agent. Like that's all you talk about. Like, how can you play and become a free agent and take advantage of the open market? And this guy decided to not do that for 20 years. Like that's the ultimate loyalty and dedication to a team that I think as an average fan, you don't fully get to understand because you're not in that business. Like you shouldn't understand that. But I think as a player, what that means, that no matter what, for a guy to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to just extend and not go to free agency. I think it says a lot about that guy who wants to be there and continue to do that.
Were you surprised at his choice of team?
No, I mean, can you write a better script than a team that doesn't make the playoffs? But when you look at them, you're like, dang, they got a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
They're just missing a couple guys. And it's like, no, they're missing one guy. He just happens to be the greatest of all time. And I think it was cool to see. I think for all the guys that played with him, but especially guys that played with him for an extended period of time, the guys that were kind of part of this wave of the 2010-ish time. And I think even for those guys before, like the Brewskis, the Willie Max, all of those guys that know him well, to see him go to a team, and people talk about that team literally from March all the way throughout the season, the good, the bad, they're done, they have this, and to watch what he was able to do. And I think he's a guy, and it's crazy to think about, like, he's a guy that when he walks into a locker room, automatically you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's a cool thing to say when you watch ESPN or NFL Network or, Nesson and Comcast. It's a cool, but the truth of the matter is every guy in that locker room now walks with their head high and they're like, we can win a Super Bowl. And when you have that feeling, and I only know that feeling because I came into a locker room with him and being in New England, it's different. But like talking to my brother and other players, those guys are like, man, we just want to make the playoffs. We want to try to win our division. When Tom's in your locker room, you want to win the last game of the year. Like that's the goal. And I think it's special for one player to have that kind of like just walking around on his cape as he walks into the building. It's like he walks in, and I think it's like a commercial. Everybody's like, oh, we got a shot. We got a shot. And I think he showcased that this year. It was special to watch.
So he's going to come back. You guys are playing them this year in New England. So how badly do you want to maybe pick them off, get an interception?
I definitely do. I've kept a couple of interceptions from practice that I've had of him. So I got an interception on Peyton Manning. It would be awesome to get an interception on Tom. And but I am excited for that. I think some of the greatest times in sports are when guys can, leave with the fans being able to be there and give them that appreciation. And as some people say, give them their flowers. So I'm just thinking like that's going to be an awesome atmosphere. And hopefully whenever we play him, it's a packed stadium, hopefully with COVID and all of that. And he can feel the love and appreciation that, obviously all of New England has for him. But obviously ultimately he goes home with a loss. I think that would be the true New England way.
There you go. All right, one more from me, and then we'll get to some of the questions from people who are watching. You mentioned, watching ESPN or any other network, NFL network, and there's a lot of sports talk shows in Boston. Sports radio is very prevalent. Now, a lot of athletes say they don't listen to that stuff, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. You personally, how much of it do you watch? Do you enjoy? Do you pay attention to? And if you do watch, is it motivating for you?
So like when I first got in the league, I thought it was cool. Like I was always watching ESPN and never sports talk radio. I'll never understand why I don't want to be in the car listening to someone who a lot of times doesn't know much about football or any sport, talk about sports. So I don't watch a lot of that. But when I had my second year in NFL, I had a rough season. And I remember Gerard Mayo coming to me. He was like, bro, don't watch any of that stuff. Don't it makes you think about way too much. Just play ball. And ever since then, I don't I'm on Twitter, on social media. So I see stuff. And you see stuff all the time. And then even when you're doing interviews, people ask you about stuff. And I remember being a young guy and like the first time Rodney Harrison said something bad about me. And, it was like, dang, being in an interview and because you don't follow stuff. I remember the first time someone asked me about it, I was like I had no idea. And I think you learn as you become older and you become a veteran. Everyone has an opinion. Like you can't care about that. And for me, is it motivating? Not really. For me, I think about my journey and getting here was a lot of people who sacrificed and gave a lot to me. So I'm motivated more by trying to prove them right than I am by trying to prove people wrong. Those people that you got to prove wrong, like that never ends. That's a constant thing in life. So, but I think you see some of it, but I'm not a guy, like I'm not watching a lot. I'm not, on ESPN.com reading articles. Like I could care less what people think. I'm just out there trying to have fun and then ultimately win as many games as possible.
All right, let's get to some questions. I apologize if we don't get to all of them. We got about 20 minutes left in this, so we'll try to whiz through them here.
I'll be fast.
Yeah. All right, Bill asks, and it's funny he asked this question, what is your favorite Bill Belichick moment?
So it's hard to characterize as favorite, but I would say one of the most unique moments for me was coming out of college. Steve Belichick, who's a coach now, played lacrosse at Rutgers. Bill was coming in to see him, and I get a call from Coach Shiano, who was the head coach of Rutgers football at the time. And he's like, hey, Bill Belichick's here. He wants to meet with you. I'm like, oh, I got a flight to Tennessee in like 4 hours. So I don't like. I'm not sure. I can't miss my flight. I'm not in the NFL yet. I can't just be blowing flights off. And I remember calling my agent. He was like, "No, you got to go." And I remember sitting there for an hour, and we would watch a play. He had the clicker, and we watch it, and he'd go, "What do you think you could do better?" And I, trying to be that good student, give him this long answer, like tell him as much as I can. He'd be like, "Okay." Same thing. I mean, for an hour, this is happening.
Yep.
And I walked away and I called my agent on the way to the airport. And I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know how that went." I said, "I have no idea." He didn't smile at all. He didn't tell me good job. And then it was crazy. Probably like 5 or 6 years later, I was doing an interview and someone said, they were like, "Are you aware that Bill said his meeting with you, Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed was probably the best interview he's had with a college player coming out?" And I was like, dang, I thought that interview was terrible, but little did I know I actually did a pretty good job. So that was cool just hearing that.
Hey, you faked Bill out. No one, not a lot of people can say that. Josh DePeel asks, you came into the league as a corner before switching to safety, and you've been a safety ever since then after a couple of years. Was there any discussion after the fact between you, Bill, or Matt Patricia about possibly moving back to corner permanently?
So I'm an employee. So, you got a job. If they come and they tell you.
How did I know you were going to say that?
They tell you, hey, we want you to do the morning show. Hey, nope, we want you to do, like, it was, honestly, if I'm telling you the truth, it sucked. I hate it when I moved to safety.
Okay.
It was no discussion. It was, you're moving to safety. And I was like, okay, like, I guess so. And then then after that, if you follow the team closely, in 2015, after I signed to come back, I actually played corner against the Saints in the preseason. A little older. I spoke about how I hated that. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to be a guy that went back and forth. I just feel like in football, you can be good at a lot of things, but you got to do something, to be great at it and try to be great at it. So I wanted to stick to safety, and now there's no discussions at corner anymore. I'm too old now to go back out there.
Brian asks, you, the Patriots, and the Kraft organization have a reputation for excellence. What do you think is the secret? And I'll add on to that. People always talk about the Patriot Way. Some people recently have said that that's not even a thing. Some say it is. What's your take on that? And also to Brian's question, what do you think is the secret?
I think it's like all organizations, it starts at the top. And you can't have someone running the show who's not good. You can't have bad leaders and think that something's still going to go as planned or have a great team of something. So I would say it starts with RKK, Mr. Kraft. Obviously knows how to run a business the right way, but I think his ability to connect people and do those different things, and then obviously hiring, Bill as a head coach, and he does what's best for the team. Never gives you anything else other than that. Hard decisions, really tough calls that he has to make. And I think that trickles down to everybody else. And I think it's a special feeling knowing every time you walk in the building that everyone wants to win. And believe it or not, it's not like that everywhere in the NFL. You can talk to a lot of players who will tell you that you don't have that feeling everywhere you go. And I think for us, that Patriot Way is just really the standard of how it's been. It was like that before I got there. We just try to continue. We put our own kind of niche on it and do things our way. And then we just try to build really good relationships. And that's something that Matthew Slater, I think, has put his stamp on when you talk about the Patriots and the relationships we built. I think a lot of that has been fostered through Slate because he's a big relational guy and talks about it all the time.
You mentioned Slater just real quick before we get back to some of the other questions. Is it fair to say that he has impacted the game more than any other special teams player that you can remember, that you know about? I mean, he has done so much leadership-wise that I can think of. Is that safe to say that he might be one of the best to ever do it leadership-wise from that position?
It doesn't matter what I say. When I heard Bill Belichick say the greatest special teams player to ever play the game, and Slate hates it. He hates whenever you give him praise or talk about it. And for me watching him, I think the biggest thing that you stick out, if you look at all the great special teams players, they always have like at least 2 to 3 to 4 teams that they play for, just because that role is just, you get a younger guy. You're like, well,
Revolving door.
and the whole league is like that, but especially when you talk about special teams guys, the guy's going on his 14th year for the Patriots because he's been that dominant. Really one of my closest friends. He's been a huge mentor for me in the NFL and as a husband and father, but definitely the greatest, and I don't know a lot of the history of the game. But for the time that I've watched football, I've never seen a player have the impact he's had as a player and leader.
Like you said, if Bill Belichick says it, that says enough right there.
That's all you need.
Chris asked, and I definitely wanted to talk about this particular player. From your 1 year with Cam Newton, what are your overall thoughts about him? And what are the misconceptions of him that are given out by the media?
Soon as you say Cam Newton, I think you just smile, because if you get to be around a guy, he is just a ball of energy. I know everyone talks about it. The way he dresses obviously sticks out right away. But I thought his energy of how he came into a situation that couldn't have been easy to come in and having to take over for Tom. It's the Patriots. You hear all of this, and all anybody talked about was how it won't work, how his personality doesn't fit. And he came in and, a weekend, he got all these high fives with all the receivers. He's talking trash in training camp. I mean, we're going at it. And for me, it was cool because he was a leader from day one. And as far as the misconceptions, I think it's one thing that I think as a whole we always get. And I think the idea of, if you follow football, the black quarterback, and I feel like the black quarterback is always this. He's in a box. And no matter what that quarterback is, he's always going to be labeled the black quarterback. So for me, coming in and seeing Cam in there 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and for us older guys, we'd be in there late getting treatment, and you look over at him, it's 6:30, 7 o'clock, and he's pulling out his laptop to go over stuff. He was the first guy in, last guy to leave every day. And for me, that was awesome to see, because I'm like everybody else. You just heard or knew what people wrote about or what people spoke about him. But a competitor, a hard worker, and a really good leader that I thought the team really benefited from last year.
This one is from, I'm just going to say, a very important person at Suffolk. I'm not going to reveal a name. I'm actually not a huge football fan, but I am a huge fan of yours and your brothers for the work that you do in your communities, in our communities. So thank you. What messages are you prioritizing as you speak with our youth?
I think one of the things for me that I always try to instill in the youth is, for one, find your path in life, whatever it is you're passionate about. Choose your friends wisely. And then the last thing, something me and my brothers both passionate about, is just keep deciding on what success looks like. Don't become successful. I heard a pastor say, he said, sometimes as you're trying to climb to the top, that's the easiest thing about it. He's like, you have a goal, you know what you want to do, you're doing everything, you're staying out of trouble. So, but the thing is, when you get what you want, how hard it is to stay and be that same person that was in that journey, fighting and clawing to get to what they wanted, how hard it is to stay that same person and to not get big-headed or fall off and do different things. So I try to really tell the youth and warn them of just the different things that come in life. But it's one of the favorite things that I get a chance to do is talk to kids, and especially with all of the virtual stuff. I've had the opportunity, not in person, so not as good, but I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of different, youth about different things that go on. And it's always inspiring.
All right, Celia asks, Boston sports fans are known to be intense, sometimes crazy.
Just maybe a little bit.
Well, a little bit. What are some of the most memorable moments you have of fans?
So I think one of the coolest things with fans is when we go to Celtics games.
Yep.
I think walking by the fans that are rushing over the kids, the high fives, opportunity to sign autographs, walking in and out or back to our seat. The same thing when on game day and the pregame when the fans come down and we're signing autographs before they go up. But one of the best moments for me was in 2014 divisional round in the playoffs. We're playing the Ravens and we go down 14 points twice in the game. And in the third quarter, I get an interception off Flacco. and we're watching the film and we see the film and it's just like this. The stadium got so loud with fans jumping and banging. And, usually like this isn't like the TV copy. This is just our own
Yep.
all 22 film. Like it's usually like perfect and it's shaking and you could just feel the intensity in that stadium when that happened. But I mean, the playoffs are like that. Like I love playoff games in Gillette. It's cold. Teams don't want to be there. And I feel like our fans, I have a friend of mine who he loves the playoffs so he can go and take his shirt off. 20 degrees, 15. And to me, that is Boston sports. They do whatever they can that helps the team win. And they, whether it's taking their shirt off or taking a drink at the same time, like they are just all in. And if you don't play well, they will let you know about it. That is for sure.
That is definitely for sure. Henry asks, what stadium do you dislike the most to play at and why?
I don't have a dislike. I would say playing in Buffalo is intense. I love playing in Buffalo because it's one of the stadiums that we go to on a regular. And when you have Brady on your team, you go to these stadiums and like the next thing you know, like the middle of the third quarter, is more Patriot fans there than the visiting team. But like when we go to Buffalo and we've beaten Buffalo for years, like consecutive, every time we go there, they hate us. Middle fingers. When we come in, we get moon. I mean, like some of the craziest stuff happens in Buffalo, but I love it because they are just so about their team.
They're breaking tables, jumping off it's nuts.
Yes. So as like you love going there, and then one of the best feelings is if we can leave and we're up big in the fourth quarter, they're still over there talking trash. We're waving goodbye. So like that's a very intense stadium that people don't really talk about a lot.
We talked about it. The draft is now 3 days away. Very exciting time. Any of your favorite prospects in this draft that you like to watch or you think that are going to be pretty good?
I'm not gonna lie.
Levis asked that question, by the way.
I don't watch a lot of college football. It's tough. Saturdays I'm usually spending with the kids, but I'm excited to see where Justin Fields goes. I didn't see him a lot, but just at the end, obviously everyone watches the playoff college. I thought he played really well in the head-to-head game with Trevor Lawrence and Clemson. I thought that was, it was cool just to see that. And then Obi's little brother, Ifatu at Syracuse, Melifonwu, I'm excited to see him. I got a chance to meet him a couple of times. And, as you get older, anytime you have a connection to somebody, it's cool to see. He's a kid from Massachusetts. So hoping he does well and gets drafted, as high as possible.
All right. This is from Zaid. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm 10 years old. I want to be a pro like you. What's your best advice for me?
For one, work hard, keep working. Don't worry about where you are. Don't worry about, I know nowadays rankings and all that stuff is big. Don't worry about that. And one advice I could give you from me was have fun playing, obviously whatever sports you play, but even other sports. I think sometimes now, and I know I don't even think it's kids that much, but it's usually the parents are so focused on their kid becoming a pro that you kind of miss out and you don't want to burn out, and not want to play a sport by the time you're a senior in high school. Just enjoy it. I think I was very fortunate to have a mom who cared more about my spelling tests and my grades than sports. And, she always made that a priority. So I never felt pushed to do something sports wise. It was just always my love and passion of why I worked hard and why I did extra stuff and those sort of things. But yeah, man, keep your head down and just keep working. And I think that's the goal for any sport, anything you want to do in life. I think a lot of times we always want to pick our head up and look around and see like, all right, where am I at? How am I doing? Don't worry about it. Just keep working and wherever you end up, I think then you can have the peace of mind to know like, hey, this is what I've earned. This is where I'm supposed to be. But if you look up and then you slip up, you're like, man, what if? Don't just erase all the what ifs and just give it everything you got.
Brian asks, what does it mean to you to be the Patriots Walter Payton Award nominee multiple times in your career?
It's what I'm about. I tell people all the time, no matter what I do on the football field, I think people always talk about legacy. I think for one, your legacy for any person is the impact you have, first at home, whether that's a wife and kids, whether that's, nieces, nephews, siblings, like whatever it is, your situation is, like that's your legacy, how you impact those people who know you the best. And then I think when you talk about my football legacy, when you hear Devin McCourty, people are going to talk about what I did off the field, I truly believe, before they talk about, a Super Bowl or a Pro Bowl or, this player or that player. I think when you hear my name, I think right away people will think, like, hey man, that guy was always doing something off the field. He was involved in sickle cell, like he was passionate to raise money and awareness. He was one of those guys who, social justice, he was always talking about these things. And I'm proud of that. I think that's how my mom raised me. I think that's what's important to me. And very fortunate that football gave me that platform. But I think ultimately, I think that's why God put me here. I think that's why he put me on the Patriots, a popular team, a team that could win, was because he was going to use me to do other things. And I love that when people, I meet people and they're like, yeah, man, you're a good football player, but, the person you are, like, I truly think that's what matters. And I think that's what my kids see. They don't know, they don't care about daddy, the football player. I mean, quick story, we played San Fran this year and we got spanked. And we go to Jay's house and Jay's son comes to the door. He's like, Daddy, that white and red team spanked y'all, but and they don't care. Like they just care about who you are at home, and the type of leader that you are. So I'm very happy that I've been able to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for a couple different years.
This one is, I'm not sure who this is from, but do you have a post-game or season guilty pleasure?
So it's not post game or because I do it in season too, but I've gotten big on drinking wine. I've enjoyed.
Who are you, LeBron? You think you LeBron James?
So that's what I saw. LeBron said he drinks a glass every night. I'm like, this guy's 37. He's 37. He's still the best player in the NBA. So I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I need to add that. So that's been fun, especially in the off season of getting like with my brother and his wife or hanging with some of my guys from back home and just drinking wine and seeing how that works. I'm not like this huge, like I'm not super knowledgeable about wine, but that's been enjoyable.
One more for you, or maybe two more. We'll see. Devin, thanks for being a great role model. You were a champion in 2014, 16, and 18. Is 2022 another one? So 2021, 22. This upcoming season. Is this upcoming season another one?
Yeah, we blew it. We were supposed to be Super Bowl champions in 20 because it was 14, 16, 18, yep. 20. But maybe we're going to switch it up and like we want to make 21. Like we want to get in on these odd numbers. So you can't ask me that. I always think I'm going to be a Super Bowl champion. I think that's the only reason why you keep playing. I'll be 34 this year. Like that's the reason to keep playing. So I'm going to speak it into existence. Okay. New England Patriots, 2021 Super Bowl champs.
You heard it here, people. You heard it here. What advice would you give people, for anyone who is graduating? And I do have to say that this year, Suffolk graduates are going to graduate at Fenway Park, which is pretty cool. So what are some words of encouragement you have for them as they take the stage at Fenway, and also just for anyone who's graduating in the coming months or year?
Yeah, I think the graduating class, you're in a unique situation. Like, you don't have anyone who can come to you and say, yeah, similar thing happened to me when I was a senior. Like no one here went through the pandemic. No one knew what that meant, to have virtual learning and trying to do all of those things without being able to sit down with your teacher or get to know classmates in person. So I would tell you to keep blazing your own path. Take advice from as many people as possible, build networks, but know that you've made it through a tough time. And there's going to have moments, you're going to come up with some moments of doubt, some moments of uncertainty, but rely on what you've been through. I think sometimes we don't realize that, going through something tough is our blessing, because it gives us the confidence, it gives us the perseverance and the endurance to know that going forward, nothing can defeat us. And I think for the graduating class over these, next couple of years, including last year and this year, like, you guys are you are made of steel. Like you've done so much in life so that you should be proud of. Just know as you move forward, you're going to just keep knocking down walls. I truly think these next couple of classes that are graduating, they're going to be huge difference makers in a society, from watching, the George Floyd situation while being cooped up inside, can't leave because of the pandemic. And like I said, the virtual learning and figuring out how to do these things, but also seeing the world from a point of view where you can't go out and be there. I think they have a unique lens on life and will really be the difference makers.
It's good stuff, man. It is time to go. Unfortunately, I apologize if we didn't get to everyone's questions, but we got to a majority of them. So, Dev, we appreciate it, man. You are a role model. You are one of the best Patriots to ever do it. Of course, you're right up there with Tom Brady. So that's saying a lot. So we appreciate you coming on tonight. Tonight's program is part of Suffolk Spring Week, a week of virtual programs and events for the entire Suffolk community. For a complete list of events, please visit the link shared in the chat right now. And Thursday is Suffolk's annual Day of Giving. This year's theme is Give to What You Love at Suffolk. Personally, what I love at Suffolk, just real quick, is the TV studio. That's, of course, what I do for a living. And without Jerry Glendie running that thing over there and letting me in freshman year, I wouldn't be here in Denver doing my thing. So I that's what I love and will always love about Suffolk. So just wanted to say that. I hope you will all join me in making a gift using this link in the chat or texting I love SU to 71777. Every gift, no matter the size, helps Suffolk move forward. So that does it for us. Again, give it up for Devin McCourty, Patriots safety, used to be cornerback, now safety. We appreciate it, Dev. Can't wait to see you guys play this fall, and we're holding you to it. This year is going to be a Super Bowl. So
I appreciate it. I just want to say, everyone who watched, finish off the week, finish everything off. I know you enjoyed the program, but give to Suffolk because Suffolk gave to you, and pay it forward for the next students. Boston and New England area is a huge area for kids who are first-time graduates and their families. English is a second language. Like, so many kids who have been through a lot will benefit from this gift you give. So I really encourage everyone to go on there the day of giving. Try to make your class the top class. Like, make it competitive. Don't just give because you're like, oh, Devin McCourty said, like, go out there and win the day of giving and be the best. I think it's awesome to give and to be able to watch Suffolk grow for all you alum and see the difference that you're making because you're helping build the resources. You're helping brighten the future for some young men and women. I really hope you guys take advantage of it because it really is a blessing to be able to give and to make a difference. So good luck to Suffolk. And again, I'm honored to be able to be with Suffolk once again. And maybe someday down the line, we'll say, man, yeah, Devin McCourty, yeah, he didn't go to Suffolk, but I feel like he did.
Oh, we don't have a football team, so sorry, buddy. Couldn't go. Unfortunately. Nicely put, Dev. We appreciate it, my man. Stay healthy. Have a great season. Looking forward to it. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for having us. See ya.